If you take a trip back down memory lane to December of 2019, you will remember a great time. West Coast Racers was finally opening, and enthusiasts around the world were all hyped for the great new 2020 editions coming. Now, we all know what happened. We all know why 2020 wasn't as great as it could be. But somehow, that gave us a gift. It gave us the gift of a 2021 season that looks to be unmatched by any year ever. 2021 could be the best year for new coasters ever, and that's largely due to a lot of 2020 editions being pushed back. However, there are still a few coasters on this list that were originally planned from 2021 that looked fantastic, and everyone came out to play this year. I mean, everyone. Intamin, RMC, B&M, Vekoma, Mach, Premier. Everyone is here. So today I'm going to be ranking the top 10 best new coasters for 2021. There are a lot of these that we have to get through, so I'm just going to start it off right away. But quickly, a few honorable mentions are Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind, Icebreaker, and Stunt Pilot. Yeah. So for the real list, we're going to start with... This may seem a little low, especially for a B&M dive coaster. People have been saying that this looks like a really solid dive coaster, and I'd have to agree. It has a really solid layout for a dive coaster. And I say for a dive coaster because there's not a whole lot you can do with these layouts to make them super unique. I mean, the coolest thing we've seen on one of these is a vertical loop. Ooh. I do like, though, what B&M is doing with their newer dive coasters, moving away from just building bigger and bigger and bigger to going smaller with more compact elements. But it still is just a dive coaster. The highlight will be the drop, and the rest of the layout will be good, but it's more complementary to that drop. If you don't like the drop, then this isn't going to be a very good ride. I like the drop, so I like dive coasters, but they're not exactly very unique experiences. If this were last year, this would probably place a lot higher, but since we're seeing a lot more aggressive and unique rides from the likes of Intamin and RMC, this kind of gets lost in the crowd. I still think it looks great and really fits to complete the Seaworld San Diego lineup, but in the grand scheme of things, it kind of gets overshadowed by the other great additions coming next year. Now, technically speaking, this is the first new Vekoma launch coaster coming to the United States. Now, it is very different from their other launch coasters, but there is still something to be said about it being the first new Vekoma. If you want to see where the next new Vekoma will go, then check out my video in the card or the description or something. But yeah, this is the first new Vekoma launch coaster in the US, and it looks really good. The main draw here is the theming. The Tron theming is not something I thought I would like, but it works really well on the roller coaster. This is a really cool looking ride. The mirrors, the lights, the huge dome surrounding it, it feels all so fresh and unique. I like it. Now, I know this is a clone, but that doesn't really take away from how good a ride this will be. Its counterpart is on the other side of the planet. The layout, well, the layout doesn't look great, but the theming, that looks probably the best on any roller coaster. Yes, including Hagrid's. If the layout was a little better, then this could probably be a lot higher, but as it stands, I'm not willing to put a bunch of baked turns and launches ahead of anything else. When this ride was announced, it got a lot of hype. People were saying it could be one of the best in the world, and while I believed it would be good, I never really bought into it being a super great ride. If I'm going to be honest, I think Let Coaster still looks better, but that's just me. Regardless, though, this still looks like a great ride. If there was any doubt that Vekoma was trying to break into the Intamin Blitz markets, then it has been destroyed by Abyssus. This is basically an Intamin Blitz. I mean, just look at it. Mild launch into smaller elements that still look like it could pack a punch. Your main launch into a big top hat with your biggest drop on the ride. Larger elements that focus on strong airtime and inversions that eventually spade into small bunny hops and twists at the end. Oh wait, that's Pantheon. Yeah, these new Vekoma launch coasters are so similar to an Intamin Blitz that I can use the exact same description for them and you probably wouldn't even notice. The only difference is the switch track in the backward section, but other than that, this is basically a new Blitz coaster. And you know what? I'm perfectly fine with that. If Vekoma became a major player in the launch coaster market, then I would totally be fine. It would just mean more coasters with that Blitz-style design language. Overall, this looks like a fantastic ride and a great addition to Energylandia. Although I don't think they really needed it. I mean, won't it kind of make Formula obsolete? I don't know, just something I noticed, but the ride still looks good. For some reason, I really don't hear a lot of people talking about this ride. Like, yeah, a couple of people made their analysis when it was first announced, and yeah, there have been a couple of construction updates scattered here and there, but this is really underhyped, and I can't pinpoint why. We've seen a lot of hype surrounding Stunt Pilot and the Raptor going to Wildwater West, but those are the base layout, and then you look at Jersey Devil, and the difference is huge. This doesn't just look like a step up from the base Raptor, it's a monumental leap. This ride is going to be bonkers. I don't care what anyone says, this is going to be one of the craziest rides out there. The base Raptors to begin with already give me a heart attack, so now you're saying you're going to supersize it? Yes, please, and thank you. The zero-G stall, the massive first airtime hill, the dive loop, the trick track, it's not really double up, so I guess it's just a trick track. The pacing might not be as good as the base Raptors, but with the better elements, longer ride time, and the jumping capacity, it will more than make up for it. Jersey Devil is going to be amazing, and definitely the sleeper of next year. Okay, I just said Jersey Devil is going to be the sleeper next year, but I was lying a little bit. This is going to be the real sleeper. Now, I haven't been on Time Traveler, but everyone that has always raves about it. But this ride makes Time Traveler look silly. It makes it look foolish. There is a flying snake dive on a spinning coaster. Mock just went bananas with this. They went completely bananas. I cannot for the life of me think of a more chaotic element than a flying snake dive on a spinning coaster. You start off with a JoJo roll right out of the station, and you have a banana roll and an outer banked top hat. Let me say that again. An outer banked top hat on a spinning coaster. And of course you have your standard vertical loop, launches, airtime hill, zero-G roll, of course, everything that is essential to a spinning coaster. Time Traveler looks silly compared to this, and everyone loves that. So everyone is really gonna love this. I don't know why people aren't talking about this more. Like, there's an official animation, so it's not like they're trying to keep this secret. It's very public. I was thinking of making an entire video solely dedicated to bringing this coaster to the spotlight, but it would just be a lot of me screaming into the mic about how they added a flying snake dive to an extreme spinning coaster. It's also over a lake, so it kind of has this terrain aspect to it. It just looks really good. Mock came on strong, and I really can't wait to see more of these spinners. This is another ride that got announced a long time ago, and people were losing their minds when they saw it. If you weren't convinced that RMC has affected the industry, then look no further than this Intamin creation. It looks like Steel Vengeance was mixed with Carnin. Yeah, this is gonna be nuts. That first twisted drop looks like it was sent straight from the devil. The non-inverting Cobra roll looks like something out of a horror movie, and the massive outer bank looks like my nightmare fuel. I really like the direction that Intamin is going with their new layouts, and this is a great example of that. But we have a lot of Intamins to burn through, so I'm gonna have to move fast. Now, Pantheon looks like the Wallaby Belgian Hyper without the Carnin in it. It's just Intamin's version of an RMC. This massive outer bank is very reminiscent of Steve's outer bank, and the long zero-G stall looks like it was ripped straight from Zadra. Pantheon looks like something out of an enthusiast wish list, but it's almost too good. The reason I didn't put Pantheon higher is because I think we know what most of these elements are going to be like. It looks like an enthusiast just took a bunch of puzzle pieces of great elements and threw them together. It takes heavy inspiration from RMC, but that means we've seen all of these elements on an RMC. The big stuff still looks really good, but the three coasters that are higher are much more unique experiences. You can really see that in the next spot, but regardless, Pantheon is going to be one of the best coasters of next year. Do people not call them blitzes anymore? I've seen a lot of people call these new blitzes Intamin launch coasters rather than just blitzes. I don't know, I really like the name Blitz. I think it just fits the style of the ride. But anyways, this coaster looks like Pantheon if it was on crack. The layout is just a twisted mess of track going everywhere, and it just looks so good. You keep a lot of the highlights of Pantheon, like the zero-G stall and the top hat. You lose the outer bank, but you gain this. Whatever this is. There are so many crazy elements here that this coaster might be a little physically draining to ride. There are so many wave turns, outer banks, rapid transitions, and basically every chaotic element you can think of. This coaster is only for the hardcore enthusiasts out there, and as one of those, I can just say, it looks so good. This is one of those that I feel like people aren't talking about, mostly because the hype is for other coasters like Wallaby Belgium Hyper Coaster, but honestly, I think it looks miles better than the Wallaby Belgium Hyper Coaster. If this was announced at like a completely separate time, or maybe even just at a North American park, I can guarantee you people would be drooling over this ride like I am. However, There are 2 coasters that I put ahead of it, and these are the 2 that you already probably guessed were going to be in the top spots. So let's just see what the order is. It's crazy to think that in 2021, a record-breaking RMC Hyper Hybrid will be the number 2 best coaster introduced that year. But yet here we are. I remember when Iron Gwazi was announced, people were going nuts. Immediately there was speculation on what would be better, this or Steve. And I'm gonna be honest, I think Steve is better. But this is one good looking ride. This ride isn't so much about the strong airtime moments, but more about them all blending together. There's some big elements in the beginning, but it's not like how Steve has 2 distinct halves, one with big and one with small. This death roll looks fantastic, and the first Outer Bank turnaround looks like one of the strongest moments of air on the ride. There's just not really a whole lot to dislike here. You can complain about the length, but I mean, 4,000 feet of track isn't that short. That's about New Texas Giant, so by no means is it a short ride. The only thing that could make it short is great pacing, so I mean, yeah, I guess complain about great pacing. I don't know, I like great pacing. Also, the quick airtime moments that look really small are probably going to be as strong as any RMC on a smaller scale. So think Wicked Cyclone or Storm Chaser. There's no complaints about anything. It's also purple, which I really like, but there is one thing that is ahead of it. So let's see what dethrones the king. So this was kind of the ninja of quarantine. It went up really fast when people weren't at the park. So when they got back to Islands of Adventure, there was a huge Intamin blitz waiting for them and people were losing their mind. Now the layout looks good. It would for sure make this list just based on the layout, but I'm gonna be honest, I'd probably take Iron Gwazi and the Park Asterix and even maybe Pantheon's layout over this if it were just the layout. But it's not. Universal's theming is what really makes this ride, and unlike Tron, the blend of theming and a great layout will make this something truly special. I don't think it'll be the best in the world, and honestly, depending on who you are, Iron Gwazi might be better. But I grew up going to Disney and Universal parks, so I really value theming a lot, and maybe just a little more than the average coaster enthusiast. But the layout is still really good. And it's unique. We haven't seen a lot of these elements before in the coaster, like an oscillated helix or whatever this is. It's all good. All I ask is that we get shot out of a raptor cage like in Jurassic World. That's literally all I want. The setting of this ride also makes it really good. Like, people aren't talking about this, but the last Heartline roll is going to be made so much better just because of the fact that you're right over the lake. And its placement in the park just demands your attention. Overall, from top to bottom, this is the most well-rounded coaster coming next year, and I think it'll probably be the best. However, I know some people will probably disagree with me, so tell me in the comments what you thought. I really want to know. I feel like people haven't been talking about the coasters for next year, or at least some of them. They've definitely been talking about Velocicoaster. Anyways, that's all for me today. Thumbs if you liked it, subs if you loved it. Bye guys, see you next time.